What's going on, horror fans? Welcome to today's video where I'm actually going to be talking about a recent effect that I pulled off in my newest short film, It Was There. Now, if you're just watching this video and you haven't seen the film, I'll put a link up here. Go click that because I don't want to spoil the moment for you if you haven't seen it already. Now, this effect has been done in horror movies before, so it's not original by any means. But one movie in particular, Sinister 2, was the one I saw it from, and it really inspired me to put it into my film. If you haven't seen Sinister 2, there's a particular scene in there where the main character is kind of walking down. He's in like an old church, and he sees something at the end of a hallway, which is like a faint silhouette of somebody standing there. And as he lifts the flashlight beam up, they disappear, and as he pulls it down, they reappear. And they kind of change positions slightly every time. And I thought that was a really cool transition, or a really cool effect. So I got inspired to use that in my own film, but kind of change it around, and instead of having a jump scare at the end, I mainly used it just to build a little bit of tension and suspense, which I think helped for my actual real scare and kill there at the end of the film. Alright, so before we jump in the computer and I show you how I pulled this off, there's a few things you should know before you run on set and grab your footage. The first one is being that all of this stuff needs to be shot on a tripod, and the camera cannot move at all for at least 2 shots. And that's because when you're doing the effect later on, you're kind of doing a mask, and you could do the same thing in Final Cut and in Premiere, Sony Vegas, pretty much most of the popular editing softwares out there. Okay, so the second thing that you need when you're shooting your footage is, I would say you would need somewhat of a wide angle lens. Now, not too wide where you're getting that like lens distortion. I used a 24mm lens in particular, which I think is a great focal length, and that gives the frame enough room so when you have your creature and your main actor in it, it's not going to feel too compressed, and you'll have some room to do the masking later in post. Okay, so once you get all that set up, now you're going to want to get your shots. So there's 2 shots in particular that you're going to need to pull this effect off. One is being that you're going to need a shot of your actor doing the flashlight effect, actually moving the flashlight up and down. Now, I've noticed the effect works better when your actor is doing it quickly instead of slowly, just because when the creature reappears and disappears, it just seems like it adds a little bit more motion to it, and it feels a little bit more fluid because it happens so quickly. One thing I want to note is when you're getting that shot, make sure that your actor's shoulder is not going to be blocking anywhere where the creature's going to be. Because when you mask that later, if his shoulder like ever dips into frame where the creature's gonna be, then you're gonna have some weird kind of like masking problems where the shoulder's gonna kind of be a little bit like feathered and stuff because of the mask. So you want to watch out for that. So make sure when you get your footage that your character kind of stays on one side of the frame and it doesn't cross, he or she does not cross too far over. Now that you have your main actor's coverage for the effect, you want to go ahead and get the creature shots right after. Now remember, as I said, you don't want to move the camera, don't even adjust any of the settings on it. You want to keep everything the same because it needs to match up in post. How I did it was pretty simple. I actually just had my actor stand at different distances and do different poses. Now you could have them moving during this, just make sure again that they don't move too far into the right side of the frame or whatever side that your main actor's shoulder was, because then that's going to cause that problem with the masking. So this third shot is kind of optional, and it's more depending upon if you use fog in your scene. Here on the channel, you guys know I use fog in everything, so I got a clean plate of just fog just in case I needed to use it. And this is because if in the scene I was using like a beginning of a clip for the creature where the fog was kind of heavy, and then I used part of the clip for the main character where the fog was kind of light, I can use this clean plate to kind of smoothen out that gradient that is the difference between the thick fog shot and then the kind of the thin fog. So this is optional. If you're not using fog, you really don't have to worry about this. Just make sure that your lighting and stuff remains consistent so that, again, when you're doing the masking, everything matches up. Alright, so that's pretty much all you're going to need in essence of footage to be able to pull this effect off in post-production. So now that we have all of our stuff, let's go ahead and jump in the computer and I'll show you how I pulled this effect off in Final Cut Pro. Alright, so we're here in Final Cut Pro. Now again, you could do this effect in Premiere and Sony Vegas, pretty much most of the main editing softwares. So once you get all of your footage imported, you're going to want to put your main character shots on the bottom video layer, or the first video layer in Premiere. And then all of your creature shots you're going to want to put on the second video layer directly above that, because that's where we're going to draw the mask on, is on the creature's shot. As you can see here in the first reveal that I have, because I had the main creature actually standing there and then disappear. So if I disable and enable these two clips, you can see that the lighting is pretty much identical and the shot has not moved at all because we had it locked off on that tripod. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find where your main character first brings up the flashlight, right? So for us, it's right about here. So the big way of pulling this effect off nicely is being able to time that and how he pulls that flashlight up. So we'll go ahead and drag now our creature shot in here. And I've already cut my selects and cut the pieces of the creature that I like and timed it with this. So then all I would have to do is go ahead and draw my mask here on the creature. So you go over here on Final Cut, and then this is the same in Premiere Pro, but in Premiere I think there's a panel up here you can do it. So you're going to go over to here and you're going to go into the Video Effects tab, and you're going to hit All and go down here to Search and then type in Mask. Okay, and you're going to want to select Draw Mask. And we're going to drag that on our footage over here with the creature. Okay, so now we have the Draw Mask set up. I'm going to actually follow this line right here and go all the way up to our creature's head. Boom. And then I'm going to come directly across, right over, and I'm actually going to follow this line right here of like some blinds that are affecting this. And the main thing you want to also make sure is you don't cut off the creature's shadow. Now, if you're making more of a ghost figure, I guess you could cut that off if you wanted to, just because it wouldn't actually cast a shadow if it was translucent, like how it is in the Sinister scene. But in this particular film, I wanted the shadow to be there. So again, I'm going to follow down the border of this right here, and then I'm going to come across and kind of follow this. And there's probably a better way to do this. Like I said, I'm not like a Premiere or like a masking master or anything like that. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and connect it. So now you'll see, because we've masked the top of the creature layer, we're now seeing the main character's shot because we've just masked this little portion of the creature. So now once you get this, now like how I said before, if you want to do something like more of a ghost effect, you can actually just use the fill opacity here and see now how the creature's almost kind of see-through. That's how they did it in the Sinister 2 scene, but for my particular movie, I didn't do it. So I'm going to keep that at 100%. So now once you get your mask drawn, so this is kind of what you have at the moment, right? So we just have our creature standing there, and then he raises the flashlight up. So it's obvious we can see the effect. So the other part that we're going to do to this is we're actually going to go, and I'm going to make this opacity go down a little bit, and this is just for the moment so I can see the flashlight. Once we have that, I'm going to just go frame by frame and figure out what's going to be the best timing for this effect to happen. So when we see the flashlight directly straight like that, the creature should be completely disappeared by that moment. So it's from this point all the way to the beginning of before he starts moving that flashlight. That's what you want to keyframe. So I'm going to go to that first moment, right? So when the flashlight's completely straight, and then I'm going to go over to here into the blend compositing tab in Final Cut, and you could do this in Premiere as well. And I'm going to make a keyframe. Boom. Right there. Okay. So that's the first keyframe you're going to want to make. And then now you're going to want to go to the beginning. Okay. So now we're going to find that first moment. If you look here down at the bottom, you can see that light kind of like popping into the hallway. So I'm going to go to that first moment about right. I want to say right about there. And then you're going to make another keyframe right there. And since our creature is disappearing, you're going to reverse this concept for when it reappears. So since it's disappearing, the first keyframe, the opacity is going to be 100%. And then the second keyframe, so now I'm going to hit this little button here on the side and go to the last keyframe. And then now I'm just going to make this opacity 0, right? So then now I'll go back up to my draw mask and make sure that the fill opacity is at 100% so I can see the creature 100%. He's not translucent. And now let's go ahead and look at this shot again. So now it's there. And then boom, pulls the flashlight up, it's gone. Now it's not finished yet because we got to color match and do all that other stuff, but in essence of the effect, that's kind of it. It's pretty simple. It's actually not that hard. So this, you're going to pretty much do the same principle, right? So we're going to go over here to draw mask. We're going to apply it. You're going to do the same exact thing, but now since our creature's squatted, it's going to be a little bit less of a bigger mask that we're going to have to do. But I'm going to pretty much do the same thing. I'm going to kind of just do this roughly just for the sake of the tutorial. Now that we've done the second mask, you can see how close his shoulder was to that. Now, that's what I was talking about. If his shoulder was to dip closer into the frame here, this mask wouldn't work as well. So that's what I mean by when you're getting your footage, make sure that your character stays on one side and the creature stays on another. So I'm gonna zoom in here a little bit. I feel like right there's a good moment. So we're gonna go over here to the compositing tab again, do a keyframe, right? Then I'm gonna go back to when that flashlight beam was completely straight, which was right there. Okay, I'm gonna do another keyframe. And then now, instead of how we did the last one where it was the opacity was 100% and went to 0, we're gonna start at 0. Okay, and then the next frame was already 100%, so there we go. So then I'll put the fill opacity back down to 0, and then now let's check this out. Boom, reappears. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the first where his flashlight beam is 100%. Let me put this down so I can see where the flashlight is. Okay, so that's right there, that's the moment I want. I'll go ahead and keyframe it. Okay, and then go back down to the first moment when he starts bringing it up. So about right there. Okay, make another keyframe. So then now, since he's gonna be there already, we're gonna make it 100%, and then go ahead and go to the last frame and make that 0. And let's go ahead and look at this. Boom, disappears again. So we gotta go back to our main creature, our first effect here, and then you could just start adjusting this feather so you can kind of see how that line is moving a little bit. But you kind of just adjust this enough to where you're comfortable, and it's just blurring that line just enough to where you can kind of, it's hard to see what it is. But then after that, I would apply my LUT, which I have my custom LUT already here. So you're gonna want to apply it to your creature shot and to your main character shot, just so everything matches up. So now we can still kind of see that line. So this is where you would go more in depth into your color correcting tab and start adjusting the shadows, the midtones, the highlights, and even adjusting your mask a little bit to really redefine it. I'm not going to do that here just because it's going to take too much time. I just wanted to show you guys the basic of how you pull this effect off. So this is pretty much how it looks. So you have the creature there, and then when he lifts that flashlight, you know, you're just keyframing that opacity slider to make it disappear. So there's one other thing I did to this just to sweeten it up a little bit, and this is another optional thing because this effect already looks pretty darn good. Once it would be cleaned up and stuff after we get into that color correction tab and get rid of that line. So what I did is you can go over to Triune, it's Film Riot's page, they have their own like digital asset store, and they have camera shake templates, which is like digital camera shake you can apply to your footage. So what I did is after I, let's just say this is all done and polished up and ready to go, you're actually going to want to highlight all of your clips here, and you're going to want to right click, and in Final Cut, you're going to make a new compound clip. In Premiere, you're going to make like a subsequence. And what this will do is you make a new compound clip and you name it whatever. We'll call it 1.1. Okay. And then what that's going to do is it's going to make this one whole clip. And why that's great is because now if you were to apply those camera shake templates onto the footage when it's those different layers, it's going to be all wonky and the mask's not going to be aligned up properly. So what this does is now you can go in here and actually just cut the sections you want. And then now I can drag these camera shake templates, and they're only for Premiere, so I exported this, brought it in Premiere, added those camera shake templates, and then imported them back in here. So once you have them as compound clips, you can actually drag those templates on, those camera shake templates, and it will make the footage shake a little bit, so it won't feel as locked off. I'll show you what I mean if we go back here into the Final Cut. Here's the two shots here that I dragged in from that subsequence, that compound clip, and made that its own project file. I drag it into my main sequence here, and you can see when we first see our creature, it kind of shakes a little bit. It's subtle. It's just very subtle to the point where it doesn't look so static. Adds just a little bit more energy to the shot. Just a little touch that I added that I thought really helped make it feel less of a VFX shot and just got it a little more energy. Alright, and that's pretty much all I have for you guys today, so hit that thumbs up button, it really does make a difference, and subscribe for more creepy content because it is coming your way, and I'll see you guys in the next video.